Welcome to Wake Up with Marci, a deep dive into self-discovery. I'm your host, Marci Hopkins, and this is the space where we get real about life, transformation, and finding our true selves. Hello, all, and welcome to Wake Up with Marci, a show where we take a deep dive into healing, transformation, and waking up to the life you were meant to live. I'm your host, Marci Hopkins, author, speaker, and mental health advocate, and I am so grateful to be here with you today. Today's guest is someone who's not only transforming lives, but reshaping the way that we heal. Kristine Genovese is a true pioneer in holistic health. She's the creator of the Soul Intelligence Method, a powerful trauma release practice that allows healing without reliving pain. With a mission to uplift healthcare professionals and ignite deep healing from the inside out. Kristine is on a journey to revolutionize wellness, mind, body, and soul. So if you've ever felt stuck, depleted, or disconnected, this conversation is going to open your heart and your energy in ways you couldn't even expect. So let's dive in. And I'm so grateful you're here on the show, Kristine.
Oh my gosh, Marci, I am delighted. I love the idea that you're helping people wake up in every sense of the word.
Exactly. When I started this thing, it was like, what do I want the name? Because my prior show was Coffee with Marci. And it just came to me like, wake up your subconscious, right? Let's do this.
I love it.
So,
It's perfect. It's absolutely
yeah,
perfect. Super
yeah.
resonant.
And it's in the alignment with you for sure.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's talk about you and your personal story. And what was the moment, the experience that sparked your journey of self discovery and change?
In terms of like developing the soul intelligence method, when that happened, what sort of, brought me to that, I was a corporate turnaround specialist for most of my career. So, figuring out what people, process, technology needed to shift for the business to thrive or be sold or whatever the outcome desired was. And March 12th of 2020 was a pretty impactful day for me. That was the
Mm,
height of when things started to go sideways for most of us. We'll call it
yeah.
the grand timeout.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where I think a lot of people started to wake up, really. But that day in particular for me was a Thursday, ever ingrained in my brain. I was on year one of a planned 3-year turnaround, and I was actually at a doctor's appointment with my husband at the time, who was in for a prostate biopsy.
Mm.
So I'm in this doctor's office, I'm in the waiting room, and I get this phone call that my services are no longer needed. I'm like, what? I
Wow.
just got a performance bonus, right? What are you talking about? We're making the turn. The CEO wants to go in another direction. I'm like, what? Backwards? I'm like, everything's going great. So I'm in complete shock, you
Yeah.
know. And then, the corporate brain's going, oh my gosh, I have the benefits. How are we going to afford all this treatment? But, that's
Of
going.
course, it starts. Yeah, I get
And
it.
then I pause for a second. I'm like, okay. I text my boss. I go, I just got fired. He goes, me too. I'm like, what the? So, okay. We had prepared a board deck that
Uh-huh.
said, had we been able to hire the number of people we wanted to hire in the fall, we would be able to convert the leads that we had in the spring. And not only would we have met the projections, we would have exceeded them, even if we
Mm.
didn't have any improvement. And
Yeah.
so what the CEO did is he took our board deck, fired the two of us, and walked in and went on a hiring spree. Now, I believe in karma. What you put out comes back to you.
Yeah, I do too.
Unfortunately, his business no longer exists.
Hmm.
But I do think that was karma at work. But what that did for me, right, was pluck me out of corporate America because I never would have left, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it gave me time to really think through, what do I want to do with the rest of my life, right? That was really
Mhm.
pivotal for me.
Mhm.
Um, it's really fun. I went to an astrologer like years later and I was like, hey, what happened to me on March 12th of 2020? And she's like, oh, that's easy. I go, what? She goes, you went from 29 degrees in the house of working for someone else to 0 degrees in the house of working for yourself. I'm like, what?
Wow.
Talk about impactful, right?
Exactly.
So crazy.
Yeah.
How this all works out. But I gave myself some grace. I had a little bit of an exit package and a runway to figure out, what do I really want to do. And
Mhm.
I remember this powerful meditation where I knew I just couldn't go back into corporate America. Like my soul intelligence was literally screaming at me.
Yeah.
And that's when the method started to come and when I
Mm.
had to put the method down on paper.
So I want to talk to those that are out there because, first of all, if you are in a corporate job, it is extremely hard to think about leaving because of the security
Mhm.
that is part of that. So, for you, when you were in your corporate job, were you happy or were you ever even thinking about that?
That's really an interesting question. So part of my job was leading people. And so I
Uh-huh.
love leading people. I love people development. I love
Mm.
helping people be the best version of themselves, regardless of the environment. So that part I loved.
Yeah.
Did I love working for this narcissistic, misogynistic jerk? No, not at all.
Yeah.
Did I love getting, gaslighted in meetings, listening to some unreasonable clown? No. So there were parts yes and parts no. And
Yeah.
I did believe it was in the field of higher education. And I always believed in the promise of higher education, right? Helping
Mm.
people become the best version of themselves and achieve the careers and the ideas that they want to bring forth in the world. So there was a lot like that was aligned with the mission.
Right.
But there was such a cast of characters that made it so
Uh,
difficult.
I get that
Stay
because
motivated, right? Yeah.
I worked in media and like talk about, I used to say I'm swimming with the sharks because I
Oh,
was like, yeah, I was working in LA. I worked for, ultimately, I ended up working for FX, the network, as director of on-air promotions. And it was hard. It was a very difficult time. I learned a lot though. And I kind of feel like what you're saying, and I think that this is something for people to really kind of hopefully will grasp that we go through these things and we learn through the things that we're doing to ultimately guide us to our bigger plan.
mhm,
So like for me during that time, I went through a lot of difficult times. I ended up leaving because I got married and went to have children.
mm,
And then I ended up getting in front of the camera. And that ended up being my demise because of the roller coaster ride of that.
mm,
I couldn't understand why I was going through all of this, but ultimately it brought me to what I'm doing today. Because without all of that knowledge, I wouldn't have been able to do what I do. So
mhm,
for you, it's like you say, I loved working with people.
mhm,
Obviously, in a corporate environment, it's very hard because you are forced to be around people that you wouldn't have necessarily chosen to be around.
mhm.
But you were extracting from that and learning from that. And so you were able to make, we'll use that word, pivot, um, and do what you ultimately love today. But for you to get there,
Mm,
so this is happening to someone, right? Maybe
yeah,
they're in that place where they're trying to decide, like, God, I'm really tortured by this corporate job, or I really want to make a change, or maybe that change has happened for them, whether they chose it or not. And now they're like, what am I doing? Like, how for you were
mhm,
you able to get the guidance that you needed to ultimately do what you're doing? How could you listen and
mhm.
see?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I'm a big believer in prayer and meditation. I believe they work hand in hand. Prayer sending out the asks, the
Uh-huh.
questions, and then meditation is really sitting and waiting for the answers to come,
Which,
right?
yeah,
Now, I'm a type A, so it's really difficult to meditate, right? The brain's
yeah,
always going. So, I did a guided meditation with this wonderful woman, Sophie Bashford out of the UK. And it literally brought me to tears. And I realized I could no longer be in corporate America. And I took the time that I had to spend time in prayer and meditation and allow the charts to come through. So that essentially my method is a book of charts. Then I use a
mhm,
pendulum and I'm able to divine the information that comes through me. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But
yeah,
that's how that came to me. So,
yeah,
like, how did I go from, okay, you're this big corporate America badass, and now you're going to come over here and try and be the spiritual gangster? And how do you
yeah,
bridge those two, right?
right.
So I kind of straddled both worlds for a little while. First of all, nobody was hiring in March of 2020. Okay, everybody's freaking out. How do we deal with the work from home thing? No one knew what to do. So I'm like, okay, getting a job right now is highly unrealistic. And so I started thinking about, well, why don't I leverage my network? I have a coaching credential. Why don't I start a leadership program? And
Mm,
so I went back to my network and I just started pitching people and companies that I knew. And I said, hey, you know me, I love developing people. And I've developed this leadership coaching program. It's about a 12-week program. And I'll
yeah.
help your middle managers become senior leaders, your senior leaders become executives. I'll do some executive coaching, which I did.
Yeah.
And I said, as part of that program, I'll do 3 one-on-ones. So in the beginning, the one-on-one I did was doing something called the Game Changing Index, which I still use today. I love it. It's this cool tool out of the UK that helps you figure out where your energy naturally wants to go. So it's not a personality test. It's like, where do you intrinsically make a difference and how do you want to show up? It's
Love
amazing.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then the second one's the middle of the program. Like, how's it been going with all the tools I've taught you? How's it working with your team? How's it showing up at home? And then we get to the end of the program, and they've gotten to know me by then. And I've been dropping sort of, my spiritual nuggets all along the way. So at the
Yeah.
end, I would say, okay, now I'm going to ask you, do you want to do a regular one-on-one coaching session where we talk about where you are and where you want to go, personally and professionally? Or do you want to take a risk walk with me and do a soul intelligence session where we actually get to the root cause of your problems and what's showing up at home and at work?
Mm,
Every single
mm,
person chose the soul intelligence session. So I was like, aha,
yeah.
here's the bridge. So I straddled both worlds for a little while, right?
Yeah.
Because it's hard to let go of that identity. And I think Brandon Burchard said it perfectly. He said, you're in that zone of excellence for a long period of time. Like, you're really good at what you do and they pay really well to do it. So it's hard. People see you that way. You identify in that role. But at some point, you reach a point in your life where you got to move to that zone of genius.
Mm,
And I think
mhm,
that's what we're talking about, right? Standing in that
mhm.
zone of genius and bringing that gift to the world. And
Yeah.
that's when you're truly in line with your mission, your vision, your values, and your purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do love that. I feel like it's almost the spiritual side of things, correct?
Mhm.
Right?
Absolutely. Mhm.
Aligning with that.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of people out there that, well, one, maybe they don't really understand religion versus spirituality.
Mhm.
And then like, what is spirituality? How does it help you?
Well, I think, for me, I have to be somewhat agnostic in the work that I do because I work with individuals that have different beliefs, right? Different
Mhm,
race, creeds, cultures. Like, everybody is different, and they kind of come into this, world in with different things to give them challenges to become the person they really want to be. And so
mhm.
for me, it's connecting with that divine source, whatever you call divine, right?
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
power greater than you. It could be nature for some people. It could
Yeah.
be God for other people. And I think it's tapping into that and recognizing that we all have that divine spark within us, the eternal part of
Mhm.
us, a soul. And that
Yeah.
really, this physical body is just the covering of the soul. And we're really these spiritual beings having a human experience. So I think religion can help people stay on path to be the best version of themselves. I think it's a great guide. But
Yeah.
for me, it's all about the connection to source. And so for me, I am in touch with the divine on a daily basis. I can't do this work otherwise. And I kind of look at it as different levels of consciousness that people go through. So I think it's perfect for wake up. Like,
Yeah.
first, life is happening to me is really the lowest level, right? Why
Right.
does this happen? Ugh, and then the
Yeah.
next one where we start to go, oh, life is happening for me. And you start looking for the lesson in whatever happens, good or bad.
Mhm, mhm.
And the next level where I operate when I do this work is life is happening through me. So you
Mm.
really feel that divine
Yeah.
information flowing through you, that divine light. And
Yeah.
then the last one is life is happening as me, where you're like on a beach and you just lose yourself in the ocean, you almost dissolve, right? Or out in nature is when it happens to me the most.
Yeah.
You can't stay there very long because eventually we'll get out in traffic and we'll be like, what? I can't believe this guy, right? So we're not meant to stay in those higher states forever, but it kind of gives you a real practical way of viewing life. And so trying to stay somewhere in the place of life is happening for me. What do I learn from this experience? And then
Yeah.
allowing the divine answers to come through you. And the only way you can do it is to get quiet, right?
Yeah.
Our lives are filled with distractions.
Yeah.
So making time for you and the divine and your prayer meditation is like essential for me, or journaling, however you do it to get in
Those
touch.
have all been life-changing for me also.
Mm,
I connect to, well, for me, God every
mhm,
single morning.
Mhm.
And I do pray, and I do connect in many ways, whether it's at the beach or laying in bed before I get out of the bed.
Mhm.
And sometimes I will listen to a meditation that kind of guides me towards source, and
Yeah.
then I turn it off, and then it allows me to know how to pray, know how to talk, and then let those hits come through. So, I mean, it has been truly beautiful, and gratitude is a huge part of that, right? Because you're
Mhm.
saying being able to see, basically see the silver lining. What is the lesson? What am I learning through this process? What is the light through this darkness, right? And just recognizing that.
And I think sometimes it's also fun. It's like paying attention to all the signs and symbols and
Oh
synchronicities,
my God,
right?
I love it. Yeah,
So even if people think you're absolutely crazy, life is way more fun when you're like, "Oh my gosh, this number keeps showing up. What does it mean in angel numbers?" Or, "Hey, I just saw this incredible hawk fly by. What
yeah.
was I thinking about? Oh my gosh, that's about your life purpose."
You
Paying attention, right? It's so
I
much more
get
fun.
that all the time. And I mean, I have so many God stories. I call them my God stories
Mhm.
because since I've had this awakening and I've done this work, and I see the world in a very different way. Just like you say, when I
Mhm.
see a hawk, like
Mhm.
it touches me, right?
Mhm.
When I mean, there was a time, it was when I first started my show, Coffee with Marcy, and I was going to do my first live event. I was so nervous. I was
Sure.
freaking out. And and then like somebody came in that was able to help me. And then I was getting into the car and there was a white feather on my floorboard. How does a large white
Angel
feather
wings.
get on my
Angel
floorboard?
wings. Yes,
Right?
I'm with you.
Right?
I love it. I
And
love it.
when, like, for instance, I wear dragonfly all the time. I have a huge dragonfly story, and that has become my symbol for
Mm.
my angels and God, and that I'm heading in the right direction. And when I decided to write my book, a rainbow appeared. I went outside and a rainbow appeared and two doves. And it's just like it is. Like
You
I get
just can't make
excited
it up,
about it.
right? I know. It's super fun when you start paying attention to those things. Like,
I love
life
Yeah.
becomes more magical, or
It
like,
does. It
or a
does.
song. And our guides, like the unseen beings that are always supporting us, we can call them guides or angels or ancestors or whomever,
Yeah.
right? They're always sending us messages. And the coolest thing is when you call on them, they actually can come in to help, but you have to ask. And I think so many of us forget to ask. And
Yeah.
it's that easy,
Or
but
they don't know, right?
right.
You just
That's
have to ask.
true. That's true.
So let's talk about
Yeah.
soul intelligence method, your work, your healing method. And what I love about that it's actually healing, facilitates the healing, but you don't have to revisit the trauma. Like,
Mhm.
please explain that to us.
Well, okay, so if anyone has ever gone to therapy, right, the way they're trying to move this trapped emotion up and out of the body is by getting you to relive that experience, right? To
Yeah.
cry it out, scream it out, move the energy out. So it's kind of the way my method works is it's easy for me to explain. Most of what happens to us, all of our emotions, self-limiting beliefs, old patterns,
Mhm.
trauma is stored in the subconscious mind and in the physical body. Okay.
Yeah.
And it gets back to everybody and everything is energy. Like we know that from like third grade science class, right? We're all protons, neutrons, electrons. We have this electromagnetic field. And the only way I'm seeing you right now is through the internet. That's a transfer of energy, but we don't think about it. It just happens.
Right. Right.
And so, we listen to music and we can feel the vibration or hear the vibration, but we don't see it. It doesn't mean it's not there. And
Mhm.
so I think when we get back to the crux of energy, energy is really energy in motion or emotion. And when energy is no longer in motion, it pools in the body and it causes dis-ease within the body, a dissonance in your frequency or a dysfunction. And
Mm.
so very much like a chiropractor does a biomechanical adjustment, I do a bioenergetic adjustment. And
Mm.
essentially, what that means is everything that's stuck in that mental body, the emotional body, or the physical body, I'm able to get to the underlying emotional root cause and move it up and out of the body in a painless way. So, all it requires, the coolest thing, doctors love this, is, because patients are not very compliant. They tell you to take stuff. We don't always listen. All you
Yeah.
got to do is show up. Okay. That's the coolest thing.
That's easy enough.
So you show up to a Zoom call. That's about it. And then you just be open to receive. And then using these book of charts and a pendulum, the information comes through me and I'm able to shift it up and out of the body. And so I work with a lot of functional medicine practitioners, integrated medicine doctors on them. And I also work on their patients. And that's really what my book, Healing Through Soul Intelligence, is all about. It's about those stories and the impact I've had on the practitioners as well as their patients. And when we talk about healing holistically, we have to heal on all levels, because sometimes if we just fix it in the physical, right, something else will manifest because you
Yeah.
haven't dealt with the underlying emotional root cause. Or you fix one thing and then something else happens, right? Or it comes back. So I'm able to actually get to that underlying root cause so that people can heal completely. So
So basically what Kristine is saying is your trauma makes you sick.
it can, right? So it's founded on the principle of bioenergetics, which has been around since the 1950s. Dr. Alexander Lowen was the first one to document it. But to me, it's common sense. It's like, look, if physically you're not feeling great, mentally, emotionally, you're not doing great, and vice versa. And, sometimes people refer to me as the female Joe Dispenza because I talk about a lot of the same principles because it's quantum physics.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah.
Everything starts on the inside, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so no matter what's manifesting in the physical, it first started as a thought, an intention, an idea. Okay. That's the electric part of the electromagnetic field. But what magnetizes things and brings things into you is emotion. And emotion is infinitely more powerful. As a matter of fact, the Heart Math Institute measured the energy field around your heart is 6 feet wide, whereas the brain, it's only 2 foot wide. Yet we spend all this time up here, right? Thinking, strategizing, calculating, all that stuff. So emotions are that much more powerful. And that's what gets trapped in the physical body that causes the physical dysfunction over time. Like even if you just have a pain in your neck, like I see you holding the left side of your neck. So I know you were dealing with some technology issues. It could be that. It could be there's a woman in your life that's really irritating you right now on the left side of your neck.
Kristine, I mean, my God, I just went through so much. Honestly, my grandmother had a heart attack and I had to go home.
Oh my goodness.
And I am not a reactive person anymore. I've done so much healing and I was very triggered by somebody in my family, a woman, and it was really, really hard. And it's really bothered me because I've done so much work and I've thought I was so healed and that I wasn't going to respond to life again that way. And it brought up all that old pain and anger and rage, like the feeling of that. And yeah, it's been hard and I've been really trying to process that for myself because I'm very self-aware today, which is so important to create any change. Understanding, your role and like how you've responded to something, how can you change that? Right? So doing a lot of deep dive on that for myself, but so interesting. I wonder if that's why I'm doing.
So it's like inflexibility, right? The neck, right? So there's always something. So when you think through that, right, the gift is they brought it up for you. Maybe this is what will really bring it up for complete healing. Like
Yeah,
sometimes,
that's what I
like
said.
I
Yeah,
processed that divorce, I'm over it, I'm done with it. Well, your body says no. And I
yeah,
think that's part of it. Sometimes we'll get down on ourselves because we're like, oh my gosh, it's another layer.
yeah,
So therein lies the gift, right? There's another
yeah,
layer to shift. So
yeah.
cool, right?
I know. I say I'm ever evolving. I'm ever, changing and we're always healing, right? We really are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So therein lies the gift. But that's how it manifests. Like we don't think
Mhm,
about it, but
mhm.
it's our body or our subconscious mind trying to get our attention.
Yeah,
And Einstein even said the future of medicine is vibration and frequency. Hippocrates said 2,000 years ago that everything begins and ends in the gut. And so when we talk about functional medicine, that's
yeah,
usually the first place everybody starts. And I'm like, why? That's interesting.
yeah,
Well, the stomach has two functions. It's to hold food and process food. It
yeah,
also is where we hold emotions or process emotions. So it's usually the first place things go sideways.
Mm.
Think about the stomach area, right? The solar plexus area, the gut.
Yeah.
That is where our identity is, our self-esteem, how we
Mm.
feel about ourselves, how we show up in the world. That's where all that energy comes from, kind of like that sun, that brilliant yellow light, that
Mhm.
center of you, that core. And how you feel about yourself and how you feel about others and relationships, that's where it all starts. So, and,
Mm.
and so it's really interesting that that's the first place where you typically have to heal in order to get better. And you think about the impact, how many autoimmune diseases are out there today
I
because the
know.
body's attacking itself. It all starts in the gut, right?
Mm.
So there's things we can do in the physical. So my other hat that I wear, besides being the creator of the Soul Intelligence Method, is I am the chief growth officer for a nutritional products company. We work with doctors and healthcare providers on providing really cool supplements and formulas to help people heal in the physical.
Mm.
Nutritional Frontiers. It's an amazing company. And
Sounds like it.
so
Yeah.
I can help them in the physical with those nutritional supplements, and then I can help in the mental, emotional, and spiritual, energetic realms to heal completely. So
And I
I
love that
really
you
found it.
yes, and I love that because it's so important that you heal both sides.
Oh
And
my,
it's so
yeah, it's not
incredible.
one or the other. It all works
No,
together.
it works together. And so your book, Healing Through Soul Intelligence,
Hmm.
which I know you're a bestseller and an award winner, but
Yes.
you have an award coming up with um, Best Holistic Life, which
Yep.
congratulations. So that's so incredible for you. And if somebody is feeling like stuck and disconnected from themselves, which I know out there's a lot of us,
Mm.
what are some first steps that they could just maybe incorporate today just to start?
Well, the first thing is to give yourself some grace, right? We're
Mhm.
all trying to navigate this crazy world together. And I think really it sounds so basic, but sometimes pulling yourself out of that same old environment. So whether that is, getting out in nature for you, whether it's taking a walk, whether it's moving away somewhere without electronics, for a little while, at
Yeah.
least a 15-minute grace period per day,
Yeah.
just to
Yeah.
be disconnected and just kind of get in touch with you and maybe feel into your body. And do I have aches or pains? And what's underneath that? What's causing that? Can I move that out? Asking questions, praying, asking for those answers. And
Mm.
sometimes, I find if I can't really wrap my head around what's going on, if I just allow myself the opportunity to journal about getting this out of my head, getting this stuff out and on paper, I think is
Yeah.
also a really helpful way to do it. There's
Yeah.
lots of different ways to shift and move energy, right? It's not for
Mhm.
me, it's not just doing my soul intelligence method. I'm an avid tennis player, so that's a great way to move energy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Get the body moving. It's so important.
Yeah, dancing. I love live music and going
Yeah.
out and dancing. And so you can move energy in a variety of ways. It doesn't have to be, okay, I got to sit in prayer and meditation and
No.
get
Yeah.
fed.
Yeah. I love that you say that. And I also like if you're not good with journaling, another great thing is just go out for a walk
Mm,
and start saying some of these things out loud.
yeah,
Some of them may think you're a little crazy on the road, but it does help, like just to get it out and however it works for you. And I
absolutely.
love how you're talking about, this energy, whether you're feeling really down, really anxious, like it works. Just turn on some good music and jump around, and it really does.
It actually
It
is a
does.
blast. Or
Yeah.
like, I used to remember as a kid, one of my favorite things was like blaring music in the car really loud and
Yes.
singing. Don't speed now like I used to, but you gotta like give yourself the opportunity to just release and move it. And remember, look, even though we see each other in this physical reality as corporal, it's just we're protons, neutrons, electrons. We're moving around. We are an energy field. We have an energy field. And if you're
Yeah.
around people that are intense, you're going to pick up on their stuff,
Yeah.
let alone if you're intimate with them.
Yeah.
Okay. You're basically exchanging more than just a kiss. You're
Yeah.
exchanging energy. So
100%.
absolutely. So you really have to clear your energy on a regular basis. And that's why, I even have a monthly program because like I call it sometimes like an energetic massage, right? How often do you
Yes.
get a massage? Once or twice a month. Good. Let's clear your energy, especially if you know you've been around some funky people.
Well, Kristine, I've just around it, so I think I need a little help.
I think we're going to give you a little sesh, a little zhuzh.
Well, Kristine, it has been such a pleasure having you on Wake Up with Marci, and you are a true visionary. And I am happy myself that God and the universe gave you that little push.
Amen.
And
Me too.
and for everyone out there, if her message resonated with you, be sure to check out the Soul Intelligence Method and learn more about her powerful work and how it can transform you and your life. So, thank you again for joining me today on Wake Up with Marci. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who needs a little light in their life. And you can also watch on YouTube and follow along on your favorite platform. I will have all of Kristine's information below. And Kristine, actually, before we sign off, just give us your website.
Oh, sure. It's thesoulintelligencemethod.com. And
Awesome.
people can sign up for my email list there. And I do a free group session every month in case people want to try the method. And it is usually the first Wednesday of every month at 6 Eastern. And if they're interested in doing that, they can go on the website, sign up to get information on how to join that Zoom.
Fantastic. All right, guys. So I will see you next week. Keep waking up, keep healing, and keep choosing you. It's time to wake up to your best self. All right, guys. See you next week. Thank you.